He was very full of life. It's so funny because he had so many hobbies, but we used to always joke and say that his first love, I was his second love, because his first love was his bike. So I knew I had to come second to something, but it was okay because I knew that I still had the authority on how often he saw her. He was a professional level rider. He stunt rode, he did a lot of different things, and it was a lot of fun. We ended up getting married, and we had a little girl named Madison, who's 6 now. And then we decided to have another little girl, and her name is Paige, and she's 2 now. And it was just such a blessing. It was only 18 days after our first daughter Madison's birthday. We actually weren't going to have a birthday party for our daughter because I was on bed rest and I had just gotten out of the hospital. And then, we just decided at the last minute, let's just throw her something small, just get all the family together. And I am so grateful every day that we did that, because for a lot of our family, it was the last time they got to see him. I remember that I was starting to get swollen because I was pregnant, and I couldn't fit my wedding ring anymore. So I took it off, and I spent the whole day at Claire's trying to find just a little dummy ring so that, I could still, because I look 12, let's be real, So people would look at me like, oh, you're pregnant. And I'm like, no, I'm married. So I spent the whole day looking for a ring. And I was trying to wait up for him so that I could show him the ring that I chose. And he would usually be home at midnight on the dot every single night. And I woke up at 12:05. And I just remember my heart sank. I just knew that something was wrong. And so I tried to call him. And even though he was on his bike, he would always pull over, or he had like a Bluetooth, so he would just hit it in his helmet and say, I'm on the road, I'm on my way home, are you okay? And he didn't answer. So I remember I called my sister, bawling, crying. And I was just like, something's wrong. And she's like, oh, you're overreacting. So we called CHP on 3-way. And they told us that they couldn't confirm, the name, but that there was a male that had been in an accident and was airlifted to UCLA Medical Center. My mom, she went down there she was the first person there, and because she lived there, and she said that she got there and she held his hand and whispered into his ear that they were there, and then he flatlined. So they said they think he was just kind of holding on until somebody found him. And when I got there, I remember the door was open, the social worker was standing there, and I could see my mom and my sister and my aunts there. And I sat down, my aunt just bear hugged me. And so I was looking like, what is she gonna say? And I just kept praying, like, please let him be paralyzed, because I knew. And she told me that he had passed away. And I just remember screaming. It's so weird when you go into a hospital room, you see someone laying in the bed with all these machines hooked up, but there's no noise. When you go in a hospital, you hear the beep, 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 and I kept saying, why aren't these on? Why aren't these on? Because he looked like he had just, been in a fight or something. He just had a black eye, and he had on a neck brace, and he looked fine. He looked like he should be able to just get up. After he passed away, we had to move out of our house because I wasn't sure if we had money. And we moved in with my mom. And I remember Madison saying to one of her little cousins, when your daddy dies, you have to move out and you live at your grandma's house and sleep on the floor. I was never the one who took care of finances. I had to figure everything out because we had all these bills coming, and life doesn't stop when someone passes away, which you feel like it should. How come people are walking around and everything's okay? How can they be smiling? They don't know that my world just ended. But life keeps going, and bill collectors keep calling. And I have a 4-year-old looking at me hungry and looking at me wondering where's her toys and where's her room. I had a baby growing inside of me that I had to try to keep it together for. And honestly, I really believe that if it weren't for me being pregnant during that time, that I would have lost my mind. But I realized that I had to hold everything together because I could not fathom to lose him and lose her in the same moment. And getting the funeral together, you have to start planning everything right away. You have to pay for so many things, and it's so crazy how expensive death is. Getting his funeral together, I made sure that he was wearing his tracksuit. I made sure that we had bikers everywhere, and I just wanted it to be very true to him. And I think that we accomplished that, so it made me feel very proud. We're a young married couple. We had the lowest of insurance for medical, for everything, and so we never thought that we could afford life insurance. And when we got our raises, someone mentioned to us, maybe you should put away some of your raise into life insurance, and then that way it won't affect you. You won't miss that money coming in. And then 4 months later, after we decided to get life insurance, is when he passed away. And I never expected that we would ever. You just don't think that something like that would happen to you, especially at our age. You don't prepare for that. But I'm so grateful every single day to the person that told us that we should do that, because it literally changed my life. It's hard when you lose someone because automatically you start to grieve. You want to grieve. But automatically bills start coming, people start asking you, people are calling you from the coroner, from the funeral home, people are asking you. It's a business. And that's probably the hardest part when you lose someone, is that when you go there, you're targeted. They know that you have to buy a casket, you have to bury them, you have to do all of these different things. And for them, it's a business, and they're trying to upsell you on this and that, and you have no money. So I realized during that time that life insurance, it definitely gives you the luxury to grieve. And it's so crazy to think of being able to grieve as a luxury, but when you have people calling you, and I had just a little over $3,000 in my bank when he passed away, and I had a 4-year-old daughter, and I was pregnant. How was I gonna raise them? I had nothing. I couldn't even barely afford for his casket. And it just really brought a weight off of my shoulders when I realized that we had life insurance. And because that check came, I was able to pay for his service, pay for his funeral. I was able to pay off all of our debt, pay off our cars, and I was even able to buy a house. And that day was the best day of my life when I was able to open the door to my daughter's room and she saw all of her toys again. It seems like something so small, but to a 4-year-old who just lost everything, those toys meant everything to her. And being able to have a house, a room, she didn't have to sleep on an air mattress anymore. That was a blessing. From the time that Lloyd passed away, a lot has changed now. And life has been moving forward in such a beautiful way. A week before he passed away, we were having a conversation. He said, if anything ever happened to me, I would want you to move on and be able to get remarried. And so, a lot of prayer and counseling and, moving forward. I actually reconnected with one of my childhood friends and at church, and we ended up blossoming into a relationship, and we actually ended up getting married, and we recently just had a little boy. So we have our 2 princesses, and now we have our prince, and he's 5 weeks old now. And I'm definitely grateful for all of the blessings that have been in my life, and definitely knowing Lloyd for even the short time that I knew him was one of those huge blessings, because I grew a lot when I was married to him. I grew a lot, I learned a lot, and I feel like I'm a better person today because of it. And now I'm the grown into the person that I am supposed to be with my husband now. And it's just a blessing to be able to see the smile on my girl's face and hear them be able to call someone dad who really deserves that title as well. So I'm just very thankful, grateful, and if there was something that I would want for people to take from Lloyd's life, is that it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. If you feel like you can't afford it, or you feel like things are more important, life insurance is so important, especially if you have kids, you have a family. But even if you don't have that, someone is here after you're gone, and someone is going to be so grateful when they're able to have someone call them and say, I have a check for you, and it's okay, you can grieve.